All right, welcome back to another episode of Be a Warrior. And I am ecstatic because today I get the honor of having a world-renowned mental health coach, a mental skills coach who has done immeasurable services to a greater community of professional athletes, corporate world, and individuals alike. She's usually trying to focus on getting them to their greatness, right? Getting out of their own way, their own mindset to achieve their greatest life possible. So I would like to introduce my guest today, Coach Dar. Welcome.
Angie, thanks so much for having me on. I've been looking forward to this all weekend.
Yeah, this has been in my heart for a while. And when I knew the book was coming out, I was like, I got to find her. I've got to get in touch with her. And then I'm like, wait, the book is coming out. I should probably give her some space because I can't imagine what you're going through. But I digress. We were ahead of ourselves. What I really want to do, and when I bring guests on, this is a once a month thing for me in a year. And in my third season, so you understand the background. My goal always on this podcast is to help people through my personal journey, because mine is mine. I can't dictate what yours will be like, even if you do what I do. But to get out of their own way so they can live a really great, healthy life, no matter their circumstances. And for those of you just jumping in for the first time, I am an above knee amputee that elected to do that 4 years ago. And I truly have been living the most supreme life I could have ever asked God for. So I am blessed and I'm grateful, and I'm paying it forward by being here. Mm-hmm. So when I get guests on, I pick the people I know will speak to the audience, have something amazingly powerful to say, and can speak truth and love. And I know, Dar, you use your faith a lot. I don't talk about my faith because I'm a person of action. So I act out my faith, the way I speak with people and how I hold myself. But faith is what got me through my troubles. Yeah. And I couldn't have done it without. So my question to you is, why you? Why are you here, Coach? Who makes you you? Like, start from the beginning. Where did you grow up? What were you like as a little girl? What were your big dreams in life?
So I am from Connecticut, from a small town on the coastline of Connecticut, and I came from an Italian family and hard workers. My mom was a barber. My dad was a tool and die maker. My mom worked 3 jobs, and we had to grind when we were younger. And so my parents worked a lot just to make ends meet. And the crazy part is, while I knew they struggled and it was hard for them sometimes to just get money for groceries, but we always had this love in our house. Crazy Italians for sure. I mean, if you could imagine the Sopranos, that is my family.
I love it.
But what I learned though is, and this transcends no matter bank accounts or not, when you have a sense of community, you really could go forward. So our Italian family was very large, and that was my sense of community. So everyone helped everyone. And even in my town, it was such a great town to grow up in, small town. And everyone just helped everyone, which was so beautiful. And I loved it. And so early on, I saw my mom, who truly to me was like Mother Teresa. This woman, she could have her last dollar and she'll give it to someone. She could be eating a sandwich and I know she's hungry. And if I said, Mom, can I have a bite? She'd give it to me or to someone else. That's just, I was around this pay it forward, generous servant leadership heart of my mother all the time. So as a kid, I asked this question once when I was going through with a coach that was working with me, that mentored me. And she said, Dar, go ask some people when you were younger what you were like. So the answer I got was, I was the person that always helped the underdog. When people were in pain, I was in pain. And I remember this one example of, when you're a little kid and you go to those fairs and you just want to win the big stuffed animal. And I mean, my father knew that's all I wanted. So we must have stayed at this one thing until we got it. And we finally get this big stuffed animal and he gives it to me. I'm all excited, but I turn around, Angie, and I see this little child in a wheelchair. And then that was it. I went over and gave my stuffed animal to the child. And then when my cousin was younger, we were so close in age. We were the same age. He got burnt in a fire when he was only I have to think maybe 9 years old.
Really?
And I loved, if this is any indication of what I was like when I was little, I loved the Incredible Hulk.
Oh yeah. Who didn't?
Yeah. So I had an Incredible Hulk doll that I carried around all the time. But when he got burnt, I went to the burn unit to see him because he was like my brother. And he says to this day, you know, when you get burnt, it's so painful, you don't remember most of it, thank goodness. But he
Yeah.
remembers me giving him my doll because when I gave it to him, a tear came down his face and he was not alert enough to talk to me. But I just say that only because since a little kid, those are just examples of
Yeah.
if I could give someone something that's going to help them and now move this forward to today, whether that's hope, confidence, belief, faith, courage, boldness, their voice, and their ability to get back up, that's what I wanted to do. And that's what I do. And it led me to a career in occupational therapy where I help people go through coming back from spinal cord injuries, brain injuries, stroke, aneurysms. So my whole world has been in this servant heart. And I mean it. I mean, I'm not here for me. I am truly here to take this gift that God gave me and just keep helping people say, get up, let's do it again. You know, we have a chance in front of us. If we have another day, we're going to create a new normal. We're going to go for it. And there's no backing down. If we have 24 hours, we're going to go. So that's what I've been doing.
And I love that. And like I said, you know, with this podcast, I use my personal journey, one, because I think it validates, like I'm talking from that space. I'm not projecting what I think could be like to be an amputee. I am. So I can speak from that space. What space are you speaking from? For those that don't know you, what led you to transform from that OT position to even more of the mental mindset coaching that you are now in? You've had your major fair share of trials.
Yeah. Being in occupational therapy, taking care of traumatic brain injury patients, I knew right off the get-go that shifting your mindset and casting your vision on what's ahead was going to get you through it. And then when I was 25, I was married at the time. We had just bought the book, What to Expect When We're Expecting. Could not wait to start a family. And I gone to see a chiropractor. And because I had hurt my sciatica and had sciatic pain, they went to manipulate my neck and they ripped the vertebral artery to my brain. So I was bleeding in the brain and I was left with a blood clot, but I didn't catch it soon enough because the symptoms were not right away. They came after. And then they misdiagnosed me where that blood clot was. And they said it was a brain tumor. So I was going through, well, if it's a brain tumor, what will I do? And then they said, oh, no, we don't think it's that. So I say this. One is you have to be an advocate, which we all know for our own health, because we know our bodies better than anyone.
Exactly.
And so I went through that. And I wish I could say, you know this, Angie, that it was my only one, but I ended up having 3. My last one was just 4 years ago, I believe.
Wow.
And so my third stroke was my hardest. I lost a lot of my speech, my fine motor, my balance. And I speak for a living and I help people. But all the work that I had been doing throughout the years on mindset are the very principles that I use to get myself and bounce back faster than most would have expected. But, you know, these health challenges have been hard. I've lost both my parents. You know, we all have something that we're going to go through. And it's just, I promise you, if you can condition your mind every day and train it like you train your body, when the hits come, they hurt, but you get back up faster. You don't stay down as long. And that's my goal, to keep teaching people to get back up.
Yeah. And I remember reading somewhere in your book, getting ahead a little bit, but to that point, that the mountains and valleys, I speak of them almost every other podcast. And the fact is, if you can remember that you've been in this kind of valley before, look what happened. You've come out. Okay. You're back in. You're going to come out again. You've just got to remember that and not think it's the end of all things because you have another setback. Right.
That's right.
I'm going to ask you a more personal question, because this kind of goes into what you do, but based on what you have been through and the fact that, you know, and I know in your heart, it's probably something that you actually hold on to, is that this could happen again. Right. And you've spoken that. I've seen you speak of that to other people in other interviews. Where are you at emotionally and mentally with that? And how are you handling it with physical aspect? Like,
So
how are you doing? That's how I
yeah,
ask people when I talk to people, how are you
yeah.
doing?
For the most part, generally, well, I really am doing well right now. I have some subtle side effects that I deal with that no one would see day to day. But I mean, for the most part, right now, today, thank God, I'm doing well. But I also work really hard on my fitness to make sure I'm working out, because I know if something happens, at least if I have muscle strength, that will be in my favor. I work on my mindset. I work on my emotional health. I work on my spiritual health. And that keeps me going. And it really sets up the foundation, which I'm so grateful for. So overall, now there are times that I start to get migraines. And sure, I get a little worried because my last stroke started with a migraine. And by the end of the week, I was staggering and I was suffering a stroke again. And for every stroke that you have, you're 50% more likely to have another. So I try not to let my mind go to this could happen. When I do see someone that's paralyzed and, because of the stroke, sometimes that comes and it does come to my mind going, is that going to happen to me at some point? And I don't want to give that energy at all, but I'm human. And sometimes that does come in and a little bit of fear will come in at that moment. But then I try to have more faith than I have fear and say, you know what? If this is something that might happen and I'm still here, then just like everyone else that I helped and everyone else that's going through it, we'll fight through that too. So, because what's our other option? I'm not giving up. So if we're here, we got to find a way. That's right. So I just try to shift to that. No,
I like that.
No, we're gonna keep going.
I know it's got to be like, for me, mine's like a one and done. I had an amputation. I had to deal with that. I had a 4-month wait time from my schedule to my amputation, which was the hardest 4 months of my life, until I just totally fell into my faith, rested in the fact that this was the path that was chosen for me. And now I need to live to it. And then once I did that, I mean, I was cracking jokes that morning of amputation. I woke up better out of my surgery than I had for 10 surgeries prior.
You're amazing.
And then it's like, but mine, like I said, is a one and done. And I'm sure you have to do some emotional checks on you just to, because you want to look to the future, but you got to hold on not to go too far or to even worry about the past. And I can imagine that's again, we all go through mountains and valleys, and yours is different than mine, even though there's still troubles and we still can use the same tactics to get out of them and to succeed and overcome.
Yeah.
Right.
It's definitely something that is in the back of my mind. And even when I've been in relationships with people, they'll say, I know they're like, gosh, if I get involved in this person, what if they have the stroke and they're paralyzed? Like that comes into their mind too. And I know it. And also I couldn't have children because of the stroke. So there was a lot of stuff that came with this. And there's a lot of stuff that I deal with. And even from a health, autoimmune things, like some days, like today, I feel really good and I'm really grateful for it. And some days I don't feel so good, but I don't have the choice to stop. So I keep going. So you just learn to appreciate the days you have. And I honestly say this, I say, God, if you never give me another thing, I am so grateful for today, for where I am.
Yeah. Well, and that does definitely play in mindset and how you manage each day, and just some of the things that I read in your book about just how, okay, this is the day you gave me the breath in my lungs. It's time to get up. What can I do to make a difference today? Because tomorrow isn't guaranteed for any of us. And I love that. I mean, it's truly good. So I'm going to shift right now, since we've been talking about it, to your book. I'm like, okay, I'm highlighting. I'm the highlighter dog ear. I've got like 500 dog ears in this because there's so much that's so relevant. And I was starting out truly, and I literally had to take notes. Like normally when I do my podcast, I was a teacher in my former life. And so just talking is absolutely not a problem for me, but I didn't want to get off topic, and I'm like, stay focused. But some of the things that I think, seriously, if I could have written a book, you summed up everything I love and tried to instill in my life, knowing that I'm just so grateful to be where I'm at, and to be able to do that this is great. And so those of you listening, I had even reached out to Dar and I just said, hey, I love the title of your book, The Art of Bouncing Back. And next month is Limb Loss, Difference Awareness Month. And that's when I bring in speakers. So Coach Dar is being my intro to it, because bouncing back is truly what us as amputees in our community, we need to be able to do. Not that everybody doesn't have to do it, but when I think about the things that I have done, I had to bounce back. If I was going to be a good wife, a good mom, a good friend, a good sister, a daughter, I had to bounce back. I couldn't sit there and go, wow, look at my life. This sucks. This isn't what I planned. I mean, Eric and I have been together since high school. And I looked at him, I said, would you have ever expected you were going to be married to an amputee? I mean, he didn't think that, but the guy is resilient and my protector and my support and amazing for all he does and what he went through leading up to this. But in your book, I love the affirmations. The positive affirmations are really powerful. And, if I could pinpoint any, I'm stronger than my current circumstance. Sometimes we forget how strong we are made. And it really truly does come down to the mind, right? It's a mind. Our mind can tell our body what's going to happen. And when we believe our mind, then we can accomplish greatness, like you try to unleash in all your clients, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so tell me.
I just want to show you, I have this little brain model that's always on my desk because this is what I study. But I just want to say, like, this thing right here, it propels us forward or pulls us back based on what we fill it with. So this is our circuit. This is our brain. This is the most powerful tool. And if we use this well, and we put great information into these areas that are working for us, we are extremely powerful. We could heal ourselves. We could move ourselves forwards. We could take off the limits. But if you don't do the work and you don't fill it with the right things, this thing could hurt us. This is enemy lines when we're not doing what we need to. But when we are, we're survivors. We're fighters. We have all that we need.
So true. And just curious on this book. Was at your book launch, and that was just fantastic to listen to you and to see your banter with the athletes and stuff. It reminded me of, I have 3 big brothers. It totally reminded me of me and my family and how we would always rib each other. And I think that's why God gave me boys. I got that and I understood that. And we banter just like the old days.
I love it.
It is great. This book was a long time coming. Yeah. And can you talk about how what put this into your mind to do? What kind of trials and hurdles did you have to overcome to make this happen? And how long did it actually take you to get this out? I mean, great thoughts and great ideas and great tools for everybody. But tell me a little bit about the process of it.
Here, I just want to tell you just a little bit, because I want people to hear this, and that everyone's got a book within them. And it's just whether you're willing to write it. So when I was little, 1st and 2nd grade, I was actually pulled out of the reading class because I wasn't reading as fast as the other students. My reading processing was slower. So I had to be taken to get help from another teacher that could help me. And she poured into me so well that when we were done, I became a bookworm. I wanted to be in the library reading all the time. So my mom always was taking me to the library, and I loved books, and I just love holding my hands. And in the summer when she would work, because we didn't have a babysitter, I would go to work with her. And then in town was this independent bookstore, RJ Julia's. I love it. And I would go to the bookstore and I would hang out there. I mean, it was my happy place. And she came to me when I was little and said, Dar, someday your book's going to be here and I'm going to be the first one to buy it. And I just looked at her and I said, when you're a little kid, you're like, sure, Mom, sure. But I always, forever planted a seed. And I was like, I'm going to write a book one day. And she goes, you're going to teach people. You're going to help people. That's what you do. So 2012, I took a class on writing a book. I wanted to learn. I wanted to start it. The calling started to come in my heart. So I called my mom and I said, Mom, I'm going to start writing. And she's like, oh, this is great. I can't wait. And I was going to write it about awakening greatness. And I still probably will get that book out there, but I started that. And first was going to do self-publishing. Then I went with an independent publisher, and it was a small independent publisher. And then I had my third stroke while I was writing that. And it took me where I couldn't even read. I couldn't hold the pen, nothing. I couldn't type. So it ended up going completely sideways. I lost a lot in that process, but it was not lost because 2020 happens and my sports agent calls me and she said, Dar, you've got to write that book. And I said, I know, it's just so hard right now. And COVID was just hitting. And I said, I think I'm just gonna go back to the independent publishing route. And she goes, no, you are making God too small. You need to write a great book proposal and put it out there because a publisher needs to pick this up so we can get this out further. Stop playing so small in your life with you. And I thought, well, no one even knows I've never written a book. And she's like, we know your work. We don't know you as an author. Now we're going to know you as both. So I did. I wrote a book proposal and I got a lot of no's in the process, a lot. And I was going through at that time while I'm writing, and I shifted the gears from awakening greatness to the art of bouncing back because I had to bounce back from my third stroke. I had to bounce back from extreme heartbreak. I had to bounce back from losing my mother and then losing my father while I'm writing this. And being told, by the way, the other point was all those years I was told I couldn't have kids because of the stroke. Right as I was finishing the book, I got told by a neurologist because I had to go have my scans again. And he said, did you tell me that you thought that you could have children? And I said, not that I thought, I was told. And he's like, you could have all this time. And I was in the middle of writing Reframing Setbacks. And I was like, I postponed so much of that part of my life because I didn't want to hold other people back. So when I tell you in the middle of writing this, I kept getting tested over and over, losing my mom, then losing my father, losing a person I loved, going through heartache, then having to kind of revisit that whole thing as a woman wanting to have children and then say, well, now I'm 47. So now for me, I'm not. But then I was like, you're going through so much as you're trying to give courage and information and tools to everyone. And I was like, wow, if this is not a testament of mental skills training, I don't know what is. Right. So I literally had to keep applying, Angie, all these principles over and over, even I was writing this. And that's how I know they work. And it was hard. But my mentor, when I finished at the book launch party, wrote me a letter. She's written multiple bestsellers. And she said, Dar, many start, but few finish. Congratulations, you finished. Oh,
I've got goosebumps and I'm about to tear up here. That is, and it's to speak, we speak a lot of, social media can be wonderful and it can be the demon on the other side because there's so much comparison. One of my podcasts a couple of weeks ago was Comparison is the Thief of Joy. And when we see people just live in the dream, we do not understand what made that person. And what is making and chiseling away at them to build their character, right? And I always say that when we are knocked down, we are building ourselves up for better character, a better path, and an openness to, everything you say. Like I can't even reiterate enough that it's just, if everybody just understood that whatever has happened to them was a reason for it. It set them up, you talk about one window closes, another one opens.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine how heartbreaking that was and probably a gut punch when you were told you could have had kids and how you had to go through your reframing principle because that would have shattered most women to like an incomprehensible level, truly. And especially if that's something that your heart always wanted, but there was a reason that God put you through that. And if you can truly in your heart know that and believe that, then nothing is going to hold you back because you can, if you can bounce back from that, that's a big bounce back. And when I heard that, that just made me so sad at first for you, but you wouldn't be where you are today. You would have been different. I really truly believe, because you would have put your heart and soul into your family.
Yes.
And you can't have it both ways. Your heart and soul can't go to the world and to the family. There's a breaking point. And that's, it's good for people to see that. I mean, because you look like you have it all together. You're living a great life. You're walking around with these NBA stars and all these MLBs and the NFL and the corporate people and higher ups. And I mean, that's some people's dreams, but are they willing to put the work in? Are they willing?
Yep.
Do they have that path? Is that their path? Is that meant for them? We don't know. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yep.
tell me a little bit about, this positive affirmation. And I was really excited. And you actually got me starting to think, because I feel like I'm in a dead end right now. Like, I love what I do. And my goal is always, if I can help one person, I've succeeded this week. And that's all I ask. Because by no means does anybody know who I am, really. I'm trying, but it's not easy. The power word and positive affirmations I talk about every day. You need to, what we tell ourselves is what we believe in ourselves. So we need to move into that and stop talking down to ourselves. I use that with my kids. You're not stupid, just because you screwed up on that, let it go. Don't live in the past and move forward. It built you to where you're going to be. What about this power word and the, what was the other thing? The why power.
The why power.
Yeah. I
So
kind of love
this
that.
is where why power over willpower is what I want to say to this.
Yes.
When you don't want to have to keep lighting yourself every day, like lighting a fire underneath yourself. And I know that a lot of us try to do that. It's like, oh, I gotta light a fire underneath myself. That gets exhausting after a while. And your will just starts to weaken. So yes, you have willpower, but your will weakens and it's hard to sustain on just willpower. So I want you to sustain on why power. Your why power is why you are here. It is your mission. It is the word, it is the anthem of your life. And I put in this book how to get to that point. So mine is awaken greatness. Greatness is my why, my power word. And when I could help inspire, motivate, and awaken greatness in myself and others every day, now I can get up. So when I had the stroke, I couldn't go. I just gotten done traveling with the Phoenix Suns as their mental skills coach. I couldn't, thankfully the season ended, but I mean, I couldn't get back the way I was right after. I couldn't go out. I couldn't walk. I couldn't read. There was a lot of things, but I thought, okay, well, how can I still awaken greatness? Just because that shifted doesn't mean that I lost my why. My why is still there. It's just the delivery of how I do it is changing. So I want people to understand that while maybe right now, if you're listening, you went through a health challenge, you've gone through, maybe it's a layoff, a job change, something didn't work out for you. While those things could be taken away from you, no one takes away your gifts and your talents that you were created with. And when you align that with a why statement, with an anthem for how you want to be remembered, and you put power into that, now you're lit from within. Now you don't have to keep lighting a fire underneath you, because that you are literally lit in a good way, lit with the why power, lit with this energy, with this mission, with this God-sized mission. And, I want you to think your life is a 30 for 30 in the making. Your movie's going to be played out. I mean, I gave my mother and father's eulogy. I literally said to everyone at my father's, this is his 30 for 30 right now. And all of you, you're going to have your 30 for 30 moment. What do you want the title of that to be? What's the anthem? What are people remembering? Because right now, you're the producer. It's getting scripted out. So if you don't like the script, change it now. Truly. And start writing the script you want. And that will start to give you the why power. That's going to give you power to sustain when the hits come. And even when it's great, it gives you more energy to keep elevating, to be innovative, to be creative.
It's interesting, and as I was going through all your 9 principles, and so I was trying to flip the switch. So I'm reading it through your eyes and what you do and the people you surround yourself with and who you're talking to, your clients. And then I'm like, okay, but the people that are coming on here, and I'll tell you some of the people that I've met through my journey, I was trying to figure out how these principles work when someone is struggling. Okay, for example, using some of the principles in your book, here's a couple people that I have actually met along the way. One is a former student of mine. I bet he's listening. Hey, dude. He was wrongfully hit by a drunk driver. It was violent. Like he and I finally got on, I taught him in 6th grade, and we got on a phone call maybe 2 years ago. And I'm like, what's going on? And mangled horribly. He said it was a horrible sight. He is now still 2 years in. They are just handling the case in court. And he is angry. He's bitter. He has vengeance in his heart. And I have spoken indirectly to him about, until you can let go and forgive here, and you can't heal here, you're not going to feel better. And he is literally physically struggling with his amputation, not mobile, not doing the things he wants to do, can't get rid of the pain, trying every aspect that's external, because in our community, a lot of people are like, what works for phantom pain? Is it gabapentin? Is it opioids? Is it this? Is it this? And I'm like, I use nothing. It's all me. So what, with some of these things, when you talk about your environment, the emotional intelligence, the grit, how do we turn that on its head for those in my community? And how do we get past feeling wrong's been done and we can't forgive? And that is not the only case. I've had 2 other people talk to me about, they are trying so hard to forgive. And I can tell that they are not living their fullest life. And I truly equate the two, that if we're not healing our own hearts for this situation that we've been put into, how do we get out of our own way to physically heal ourselves? So what do you tell someone like that?
Yeah, there's a lot in there. So let me just start with, I go back to principle 1, which is also for the student that you're talking about. I just want to say, if you're listening, I'm so sorry you went through that. I feel you, I hear you, and I see you, because what you went through is not easy at all. And it's not fair. I get it. It's not fair at all. And that's why principle 1 is embrace the suck. It's the military created that for a reason, because when you are in battle, which you are, there's no way around it to spin it to be positive. At this moment, this sucks, and I get it. What we have to do, the embracing of it, is we are where we are right now. Once we are able to see this and shift the emotion to, what is it that I need to do about this so that I could move forward? If you can get some active awareness in the sense of, yes, I'm angry, and you have a right to be angry at that moment. And the anger for the moment is good, but it can't plant there. It can't park there. It can't be your whole life. Use the anger to then shift to fuel you to say, what am I going to do about this? Because once you embrace it for what it is what it is. And you start getting into battle mode of, okay, what do I need to do? And let me explain, like I said, next principle is understanding your hardwiring. While a lot of things have shifted physically in your body, you still have your brain, your heart, your mind, your soul. And it's still working for you. And it still has these unbelievable talents. You're just going to need to use them in a different way now, okay? You have to use them in a different way. That's what I did, and that's what I do as an occupational therapist, to say, we're going to find the possible and the impossible. We're going to also help you find a new normal. So what was normal before is not normal now, but we're going to create a new normal, a new vision. We're going to set our eyes on that, and we are going to go forward on that vision, because we have to. Because otherwise, staying in the pain of where you are is quicksand. And you can't, the further down you go, the harder it is to get out of that quicksand. So I want to mentally get you out right now today and say, we're going to rewire it. We're going to find out your hard wiring. We're going to have you reignite the gifts that are in you. Remind yourself, go and write down right now all of your gifts and talents that you have, because you have them. And if you can't think of them because you're not in the right frame of mind right now, ask someone to say, what are the gifts and talents I have right now, so that they could remind you. And that becomes your confidence card. And I want you to look at that confidence card every single day. And then you're going to start going from there, and you're going to start building on, what's the next plan? What could I do next? And here's the thing. Forgiveness. It's very hard when someone's done something and it's unfair and we didn't have a choice in it. But you know what the choice you do have? You have the choice to either stay in that resentment or let go let it be what it's supposed to be at this point, because we can't change the situation. Release it and surrender to say, that was a part of my past. That was an incident that happened, but it's not going to be a part of my future. And I'm going to release on the person that did that. Yes, there are consequences for it. So let the court handle it at that point. You show up with what you need to show up with. You step up to the plate. You say what you need to, but you are going to try to take some of the emotion away from it, in the sense of, it happened. It's not right. You be there. You help fight that case that you need to. Then you surrender at that point to whatever is going to be, but you can't let that hold you back from your future at this point. And when you keep to resentment, that is literally poison in your own soul. Because when you forgive, and forgiving doesn't mean you forget. Forgiving doesn't mean that you condone the incident. I don't condone people drinking and driving. Absolutely not. But you could also understand, and I know this is hard when you're in pain, we've all made mistakes. And I don't know what that person is that did that. I don't know where they were in their life. I don't know why this happened, but you have to release that. You forgive them for that. And you say, that's for your lesson to go learn. I wish this never happened to me, but I'm going to use this to fuel, to have more awareness, maybe about drinking and driving, more awareness on what it means to bounce back, how you come back. Take the pain and turn it into purpose. Take the resentment and help you release it. Take resentment, release it, and rise up again. Take the struggle and turn it into strength. Reframe your mind right now to what you're going through so you could go forward. And then the last chapter, by the way, I wrote this specifically as the last principle, is you have to turn the page on pain. If you do not turn the page on pain, you learn from it, you do what you need to do with it. If you don't turn the page, you cannot write a new chapter.
No,
so
that's
get
true.
your pen, turn the page, and start writing your new chapter.
And I love that. I'm looking, I took so many notes. There were so many quotes in your book that I'm like, this is perfect. Like, this is great. You had one that I truly believe in grit, from Coach Williams, that I think is just perfect, that everything is on the other side of hard. Well, you know what, if it was easy to become a rock star, easy to become a MLB player, easy to become a motivational speaker, then everyone would do it. But it took, what you went through, I don't think anybody would say, "Ooh, I want to go with what happened to Coach Dar, so I could become like her." You had to overcome. But then with that, it built you. It created who you were. It gave you a platform from the heart and the experience that we need. And it was not easy to get to where you are today and everything that you went through. Now, this would be a very unfair question to ask, but I must ask this. If you could do it again, would you have the same setup, teeing you off here and getting you to where you are?
I know it sounds cliche, and I know people have said this in the past, but I really wouldn't change it, because I wouldn't be able to have helped over 100,000 people now. I think it's 56 different countries, written this book, and honestly have the depth of compassion and understanding. Someone said to me the other day, every time I sit and talk to you about something, I feel like you've been through it, because you've been through so much stuff. And I said, I have. And I go, that's probably why God's asking me to teach, because I've been there. So if I didn't go through it, I wouldn't be able to teach from it as well, or as compassionate. So I wouldn't change it. Because again, I also live in the mindset, Angie, when you start to realize your journey is not for you to just be a hedonist and have it all come to you. It is truly to take your gift every day and say, I'm on a mission to use this gift to help people. That is why I get up. I do not get up for me to say, well, what can I do? How much can I make so that I could just have all these things in my life? If I'm blessed with more financial freedom so that I could do more, serve more, help more, great. But I started at the beginning. If God never gave me another thing, I am so blessed. And we are here to serve other people with the gift we have. You aren't It's like soldier. If you're listening, everyone is a soldier in this. We are on mission, and we all have to be on mission to win the war and really win this game of life. So stay on mission and keep going.
I wish that I had this kind of knowledge when I was younger.
Yeah.
Like, the more you go through and the more, if you're introspective too, I feel like I'm very introspective. I think having big brothers and my sister around, I always watched how their lives unfolded and took notes so that I could, be the best version of me after seeing what they went through. And, and of course they've been huge supports of everything I've gone through. And they're like, of course this would happen to you. And I wouldn't change a thing either. Like, and I had to elect. And when you elect, and I did have some situations where, I had a one peer in one day when I couldn't even say the A word. In one day, I met a peer support person who was a soldier. She lost her leg in a boating accident, but she actually got reinstated. I think she was one of the first female pilots to get reinstated after amputation. That was my very first peer support person. And I'm like, God, you knew who to speak to me.
I have chills, Angie. That is so amazing.
She's incredible. Love the girl. And then turn around and 5 minutes later, another lady walks in who was a bilateral below knee. And she's like, well, what are you doing here? And I told her, and she got angry because she couldn't believe I would choose this path. She would never have chosen her path and she hates it. How would you, how could you do that? Yet it's not right that you're choosing that. I walked out mortified and I had to really get my tread going again and remember where I was, because I had seen both sides of that coin within moments and it was frightening.
Yes.
But going into I love this reframing, the reframing principle. You wrote something in here that says that mentally reframing is the process by which such situations or thoughts are challenged and changed. Reframing is how you talk to yourself about the setbacks you're facing. It's about innovating the setbacks with a positive framework. And I like that, because really what I would like for the people that listen to come away with this is that, okay, yeah, you went through this, whether it's from cancer, diabetes, trauma, or in my case, elected because of a plethora of medical issues prior, which for those that are elected, it's usually 5 to 10, 12 years of non-existent living. Yes. That we've elected. So we have all go through it from a different angle. We all come together from a different angle, reframing that this is where I'm at now. This is not necessarily a setback, but a set up. I love that. I love that. If people just understood that this was a path that was chosen for them and they could embrace that suck, and embrace the fact that that is a character builder moment and a divergent off the normal path that you were thinking. But isn't that a wake-up call? So talk to me about what we want to do to set ourselves up versus setting ourselves back with what happens to us. Because in our situations, most people think, okay, you're one leg down, you're set back now. Right. I would say different. Right. What do you say to someone like that? I have about 4 people that are listening now that just got amputations, like within the last 2 weeks.
I want you to just, first, let me make the visual point. A bow and arrow. When you pull it back, anything that, when you pull it back, that tension, it is setting you up. When you released it, it has way more force when the bow goes forward. So when you're getting pulled back, what feels like a pullback is just creating that tension to propel you so much further, stronger, better forward, right at the target where you want to go, better than ever. And you needed that tension. You needed that pull. If you don't pull a bow back at its fullest tension, it can't go as far. Yeah. So I want you to have that visual right now that bow is pulling you back with all the tension. So the amputation, everything you're going for, it is really giving you the fullest tension you need to set you up for the best setup going forward, to propel you forward. And what feels like complete pullback is truly the setup. So that visual, keep that in your mind, because we forget that. But again, if it's just a little pullback, it can't, the bow's going to fall right off. My dad was a hunter. So I
Yep.
know this.
Ditto.
And you've got to really pull that. So I just want you to think that when you are being pulled back, in this time that you are being pulled back, work on your fitness, work on your emotional foundation, because all of that is like getting proper lineup. So when you release, it goes right where you want it to go. So right now, you might have just gotten the amputation. You've just gotten through surgery. You're weeks in. Maybe you're just a couple months in. It's okay. It is where you are, and it's setting you up for a greater setup. And what you do right now is literally going to help determine the direction you're going to go. And when I was in the hospital, I could tell my patients that we're going to go further because of their mindset. So I need you to shift your mindset, because you need to use your mind as a way to advance you, not pull you back. I want this to be for you, not against you.
Hey, that's incredible. And that's a great visual. I mean, and it makes sense. I'm a visual learner, so I need those.
Me too.
Sometimes,
Me too.
I could talk circles, but if I get a visual, I'm like, got it. Like that just nailed it. So tell me what is on your plans now for future? Where is this leading you?
I hope that as that arrow has come back and it's starting to release me forward, that it continues to propel me so that I can make greater impact in this world.
Yeah.
I really pray that God propels me, continues on such a global level, because we're taught you can go get an MBA, you could learn a language, you could go on YouTube and learn how to play the guitar. There's a lot of things we could learn, but what we're not taught is how to build mental fortitude, how to build this mental foundation, how to work on mental fitness. And I want people to get a degree in mindset. And that's what I hope with this book and all the work that I'm doing, that if they never open up another book, they just open up this, and God gives me the words that I need to speak and teach from, that I reach people all over the world, so that when they hit hard times, I'm hoping some of the words or some of the things I taught them is the one thing that helped them get back up and help them not give up. And even, I want to say this, even if you haven't gone through a really big setback, so you may be listening, and there may be a friend or someone in your family that's listening with you, and they haven't gone through the setback you have. Here's the thing. I still want people to achieve all that they're called to. So you've got to still work on your mental fortitude, your fitness. When I work in the pros, say they didn't go through an injury, I still want them to have mental edge. We all can work on our edge, our mindset, so that when we work on this, we are well overall. Because if you just work on your physical and not your mental, you'll feel this imbalance. So I pray every day that as this goes forward, that it's propelled into a much greater impact, so more lives are helped before I go.
Well, I love that. And I know that we talked about your faith and everything, and how, like, I wonder how some people can get through some of these hurdles without a belief system, right? Whatever it is you believe in, something that has a faith base. I think in your book, I saw at the very beginning, you had a quote from the Bible, if I'm not mistaken. Or I read
had
it somewhere.
a couple, yeah.
One that I really love, that I really wanted to speak, because I usually, like I said, I don't normally bring up Bible verses on this podcast, but I do believe this is apropos. And I said, God, just give me the words. But 2 Corinthians 12:10, that it just says, that's why for Christ's sake, I delight in weakness, in insult, in hardships, in difficulties, because when I'm weak, then I'm strong. And I have put that on a vision board by my bed prior to my amputation, to remember that better things are coming, that I can't be my greatest self if I don't experience something that's going to build my character.
Yeah. Yes.
Like no one comes through life. It's refinement. And to kind of wrap it up, one of the things that you wrote that was also a visual that was phenomenal at the end, at the turn of the page. And you wrote, a car's rearview mirror is so small, and the windshield is so big, because our lives were meant to be lived forward. Yeah, facing forward. And it's true, because I think a lot of us, when we've gone through challenges, sit back and go, but my path was this way. And what happened? I went to college for this, and now I can't do that. we keep looking at what went on behind us that we're not even seeing what's coming. And that maybe our focus should be on the bigger picture that's in front, not behind. And it's okay to acknowledge. I say acknowledge, but let go.
And here's the thing, things are going to creep up, pain points will come back at times. That's why at the end of the book, I put this in a circle, because you're going to have to keep going through this process. It's not like it's one and done. It's not a linear line. It's circular. It's cyclical too. And here's a real life example. Just Friday morning, a friend sent a song that her daughter wrote called Missing Pieces. And it was about how she couldn't have children and how she's missing a piece in her life. The song is so beautiful. And I was getting ready to go speak, and I start listening to this song, Angie.
You're like,
all of a sudden I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm feeling pain. And so I'm in this moment where my head goes quickly to your point, where I was in the rear view mirror for a minute. And I was thinking, my head even went to, for being human, my head went to, why was I robbed of this? I feel like I was robbed of having children and a family. I was robbed of having certain relationships that I would have been in had I been able to have children. I was like, I started going through things and I'm like, I was robbed of this. And I haven't cried that hard in so long. And for a second, I'm like, Dar, pull yourself together. You have to go give a speech, sister, and motivate people. And I'm sitting there feeling this pain, and it was grief. It was literally grief coming through. And I felt like I'm robbed. I don't have my parents. I'm robbed. And I sat there for a moment, because this happens. I'll go into this mode for a second. I give myself so much time, and then I go, okay, that's over, because I cannot live in the rear view mirror. I said, you've got to look out the front view mirror. You've got to go drive forward, because that's where you're going. You're going forward. This is where it's always been. So keep driving forward, because that's who you have to help, who's in front of you. You can't change or help what's behind you. And as soon as I reframed it and I shifted, I was able to turn the page again. And that's why I say these principles are cyclical circles. I'm in this every day, but it took one thing like that. And sound and music is the biggest trigger to either help you or hurt you.
Oh gosh, it triggers me. Yeah.
Or it could help you. You put music on, it could change you. Like, I had to go listen to songs after that, truly, in the car, I listened to hip hop after, honestly. I was like, let's go. I need some 90s hip hop. And I was ready to go, and I was able to give the speech.
Well, totally agree with that, and it is true when you say that when something like that sets you back for that moment, that's what we say, like, nobody's perfect. Even someone who does this for a living, you guys, has her moments that it just attacks when we're not thinking. So that's why it's practice. Keep repeating those affirmations. A lot of the things at the end of each principle state, do this tonight, write down the 3 things, or have someone tell you what they see you are about, and have that there. And I talk about putting sticky notes up. If there's something that you want to say, like, you're a beautiful person inside out, stick that baby up there first thing in the morning. So when you're putting your makeup on or whatever, you see that and remind yourself that you are gold, and you are where you're supposed to be, and you are who you are. And, if we just keep, I feel like I've broken record. Like, at the end of my podcast, I'll do a call to action. Cause like I want people to not just read my book, right? Or listen to my podcast. I want them to act. Right. So I do a call to action that says, okay, so this week for the next 7 days, start doing this every day. Write 5 things down you're grateful for every day. Put it in a journal right next to your bed, or put a note on your window, or whatever it is. And there's always some call to action at the end, because I believe in actions, because that's going to give them tools, right? To move forward and practice. Because God knows we will have something knock at our door again and try to knock us down. It's just, that's life. Yet nobody goes unscathed. I say nobody. And even though they look like they're living the dream on social media, that is a millisecond of their life. What's happening on the other 23 hours that day? We don't know. So we focus on ourselves, right? And we focus on practicing the good things, reframing our circumstance, getting in a better environment. Just Coach, this is like the best book I have read in a long time. And I am all about books. I don't read books like Fabio books and things like that. I literally don't read for pleasure. I read to learn more about me and how I can become better. So when I saw this, and then I was so ecstatic when Eric came in and there was a pile of your books. I'm like, oh my God. And he goes, chill 1 second. We are keeping some of these. So we gave one to each of our sons. And now I've got, so you guys listening, got to get on my Instagram page, follow, because I will have a way for you to win. I have 5 books to give away. And so I'm so excited because I know that it's going to be huge. You're going to do great things with this. If it doesn't sound condescending, I am so proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
What you've gone through is incredible.
You too, Angie.
I promised myself I wouldn't do this, but to know you is to love you, and to understand where you come from and what you face, and yet you still want to change others' lives is incredible. Truly.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you.
From the bottom of my heart, I'm so grateful for you to be on. I hope you'll come on again.
Anytime.
Darn it. Darn you. Waterproof mascara on. Check. Okay. All right. Girl, I am so thankful for you. And I pray for you. I pray that this book finds all the right people that need you in their lives right now, greater on a level than you could ever speak at events. I hope it just branches out for you. You deserve it. Best wishes for your future. And please make sure you stay in touch.
I will. Thank you, Angie, so much for having me on. I appreciate you and love you.